It was a regular Friday evening in Seattle. My girlfriend Sarah was out of town on a work trip, and I was home alone, stretched out on my couch with leftover Thai food and Netflix playing in the background. The kind of peaceful night where nothing could go wrong. At least, that is what I thought, until the doorbell rang at 8 o'clock. I was not expecting anyone. I opened the door and froze. Standing there was Jessica, my ex-girlfriend from 7 years ago, looking worn down and exhausted. Her hair hung loose and uncombed. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and she looked like she had been crying. Next to her stood a little boy, maybe 6 years old, with messy brown hair and a backpack that seemed too big for his small frame. He stared down at his shoes, silent and withdrawn. Jessica looked at me with desperation in her eyes and said the words that would turn my life upside down. Before I dive into what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your city in the comments below. If you have ever had someone from your past show up with a life-changing bombshell, hit that like button and subscribe, because this story gets wild. We are talking DNA tests, shocking revelations, and a twist you will not see coming. Trust me, you will want to hear how I handled this nightmare. Now let me take you back to where this all started. I met Jessica 8 years ago, back in 2016. We were both 24 years old, fresh out of college, and full of dreams. It was at a small coffee shop in Portland, Oregon, a place called The Daily Grind. I had just graduated with a degree in computer science and landed my first job as a junior developer. Jessica was working part-time as a barista while studying graphic design. I ordered a cappuccino, and she misspelled my name on the cup as Benny, with only one N. We laughed about it, started talking, and exchanged numbers before I even finished my coffee. That little mistake turned into the beginning of something beautiful. Our first 2 years together felt like a dream. We spent weekends hiking at Columbia River Gorge, the trails winding through forests so green they looked unreal. Jessica taught me how to make homemade pasta from scratch flour, dusting the kitchen counter, while we laughed at my clumsy attempts. Every Friday night was movie night. She loved romantic comedies. I was all about science fiction, so we took turns choosing. I remember thinking she felt like home, like the person I had been searching for my whole life. But nothing stays perfect forever. 2 years into our relationship, around 2018, cracks began to show. I received a job offer in Seattle, a position as a software engineer at a tech startup. The salary would double from $60,000 a year to $120,000. It was the opportunity I had been working toward, the chance to build a real career. Jessica wanted me to stay in Portland. She was ready to settle down, start planning a family, build a life right there. I wanted to seize the opportunity, establish my career first, then focus on the future. I told her, give me 2 more years, just 2 years, to get stable. But she could not wait. Our arguments grew louder and more frequent. She would say, "You always choose work over us." I would respond, "I am building our future, building it for us." She would fire back, "I do not want to wait anymore. I want a family now." The final fight happened at the end of February, 2018. Jessica broke down crying, saying I would never be ready. I felt frustrated and cornered, insisting I loved her but needed time. Then she disappeared for 3 days. No phone calls returned, no text messages answered. I panicked, reaching out to her friends. One of them told me they saw her at a bar downtown with some guy. When I confronted her after she came back, she denied everything, calling me paranoid, saying he was just a friend. But I could see something had changed. She was cold, distant, already halfway out the door. In early March 2018, she ended it. She sat across from me in my apartment and said, "I cannot do this anymore. We want different things." I tried to fight for us, promising I would make more time, that we could work it out. But her mind was made up. She told me she needed someone who was ready now, not in 2 years. I watched her pack her things, watched her fold the hoodie I had lent her into a cardboard box. She left her spare key on the counter, walked out, and never looked back. The door closed behind her, and I sat on that couch, staring at the ceiling, feeling completely numb. The next 2 years after the breakup were rough. I threw myself into work, moved to Seattle as planned, and climbed the ladder quickly. I got promoted to senior engineer, started making real money. I went to therapy to process the heartbreak, dated a few people here and there, but nothing serious. Over the next 5 years, from 2020 to 2024, my life stabilized. I turned 32, became a lead developer, earning $180,000 a year, and bought my own 2-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill with a view of the city. I built a routine gym in the mornings, worked during the day, hanging out with friends on weekends. Jessica became a distant memory, an old chapter I rarely thought about anymore. 3 months ago, I met Sarah through a dating app called Hinge. She was a marketing manager, 30 years old, independent, funny, and we clicked immediately. We shared a love for hiking, craft beer, and indie music. The relationship felt promising, healthy, and real. That Friday night, Sarah was in Portland for work and would not be back until Sunday. I was home alone, enjoying a quiet evening. I had ordered Thai food, settled in to watch Netflix, and thought the night would be completely uneventful. Then the doorbell rang at 8:47. I thought maybe it was a food delivery, though I had already received my order. I opened the door and my breath caught in my throat. Jessica stood there in worn-out jeans and a faded jacket. Her long hair was uncombed bags, sat heavy under her eyes, and she looked like she had been crying for hours. She had aged visibly, no longer the glowing young woman I remembered. Next to her was a little boy, maybe 6 years old, with messy brown hair and a large backpack hanging off his small shoulders. He kept his eyes on his shoes, refusing to make eye contact, looking scared and withdrawn. Jessica's voice trembled as she spoke. "Benny, it has been a long time." I stuttered, unable to form a complete sentence. "Jessica, what are you doing here? How did you find my address?" she explained. She had asked around, found me on LinkedIn, and apologized for showing up unannounced. An awkward silence settled between us. Then she placed her hand on the boy's shoulder and said, "This is Noah." He did not move, did not react. Jessica looked straight into my eyes and dropped the bomb. "He is 6 years old. Benny, he is your son." I stood there speechless, my brain scrambling to process what I had just heard. Jessica asked if they could come inside, explaining that Noah was tired after traveling all day. On autopilot, I stepped aside and let them in. Jessica sat down on my couch, Noah sitting close beside her, completely silent. I remained standing, unsure of what to do with my hands, my thoughts racing in circles. I finally managed to speak. "Jessica, I do not understand. You are saying Noah is my son, but we broke up 7 years ago." She explained that she found out she was pregnant 2 weeks after she left in early March 2018. I did the math in my head. If she got pregnant in March 2018, Noah would have been born around December 2018. That would make him almost 7 now, not 6. I pointed this out. Jessica quickly responded, saying, "He just turned 6 last month, late November 2018, that he was a few weeks early." I looked at Noah more closely. He had brown hair, but mine was black. His eyes were blue, mine were brown. I could not see any resemblance, not a single feature that reminded me of myself. The boy sat stiff and nervous, like he did not belong in this situation. Something felt off. Jessica continued with her story, her voice breaking as she spoke. She said she discovered the pregnancy after our breakup and felt scared and alone. She claimed she did not tell me because I had my new life ahead of me and she did not want to hold me back. So she decided to raise Noah on her own. She moved back in with her mother in Eugene, Oregon, and spent the last 6 years struggling. She painted a picture of hardship, working 2 part-time jobs, waitressing during the day and cleaning houses at night, barely making $2,000 a month. She could only afford a tiny studio apartment and bought second-hand clothes for Noah. She looked exhausted just telling the story. Then she explained that things got even worse recently. Her mother had a stroke 3 months ago, forcing Jessica to quit one of her jobs to take care of her. Medical bills piled up to $15,000. The landlord raised the rent, and she could not keep up. Last week, they were evicted. Now, they were homeless, staying at a shelter. She looked at me with desperation, and said she had tried everything that she did not know where else to turn. Her voice grew sharper as she spoke. Noah deserves better than this. He deserves a father. You are doing well. I saw your LinkedIn. Lead developer in Seattle. You can afford to help. Then came the line that made my stomach turn. I am not asking for charity. You owe him. You owe us. She was not asking. She was demanding. Child support. Help with expenses being in his life. All of it. I felt a wave of guilt wash over me, the instinctive kind that comes when someone tells you that you abandoned your child. But confusion followed quickly. The timeline still felt wrong, and her tone was not that of someone asking for help. It was aggressive, entitled, manipulative. While Jessica spoke, my mind drifted back to late February, 2018, the last week before our breakup. We had fought about the Seattle job offer. Jessica stormed out of my apartment and disappeared for 3 days. She would not answer my calls or texts. I panicked and reached out to her friends. One of them replied saying they saw her at a bar downtown with some guy and assumed we had broken up. When Jessica finally returned, I confronted her. She denied everything, insisting he was just a friend and that I was being paranoid. But now, sitting here with this boy in front of me, the pieces started connecting. If Noah was conceived in early March, it could have been during those 3 days she disappeared. Maybe she had been cheating. Maybe Noah was not mine at all. The suspicion grew stronger with every passing second. I refocused on the conversation. Jessica was staring at me, waiting for an answer. So are you going to step up or not? I took a breath and spoke calmly but firmly. Jessica, I hear what you are saying, and if Noah is my son, I want to do the right thing. But I need proof. We need a DNA test. Her reaction was explosive. Her face turned red, her voice rising to a shout. A DNA test? Are you serious? You think I am lying? I drove 6 hours to get here with our son, and you are going to accuse me of this. Look at him. Look at his face. Can you not see yourself in him? I glanced at Noah. The boy looked up for the first time, his eyes filled with confusion and sadness. I felt terrible for him. This was not his fault, but I could not let guilt cloud my judgment. I stood my ground. This is not about trust or doubt. This is about being responsible. If Noah is my son, a DNA test will prove it, and I will take full responsibility financially, emotionally, everything. But I cannot commit to something this huge without being certain. Jessica kept arguing, saying tests cost money they did not have, that my request was insulting. I remained firm. I will pay for the test. It is quick, just a cheek swab. Results in less than a week. She realized I would not budge. She grabbed Noah's hand and stood up abruptly. Fine, fine. We will do your stupid test. But when it proves he is yours, you better be ready to pay, and not just money. Time, presence. Everything you denied him for 6 years. They left, and the door slammed shut behind them. I stood alone in my apartment, shaking my mind, racing through everything that had just happened. 3 days later, on Monday morning, we met at a DNA testing clinic called Accurate Genetics Lab in downtown Seattle. I arrived early, my nerves on edge. Jessica and Noah showed up right on time. Jessica was still hostile, refusing to greet me. Her body turned away. The lab technician was a friendly woman named Linda, probably in her late 40s. She explained the process to us. It was simple, a cheek swab from both Noah and me. Non-invasive, no pain involved. Results would be ready in 5 to 7 business days. When it was time to collect the samples, Linda called Noah into the room. The boy looked terrified, gripping Jessica's hand tightly. Linda spoke gently to him. It is okay, sweetie. Just like a cotton candy stick. Open wide. Noah complied, and she quickly swabbed the inside of his cheek. My turn came next. It was fast and professional. I filled out the paperwork and paid $300. Jessica refused to contribute a single cent. She signed the consent forms, her pen digging into the paper with more force than necessary. As we left the clinic, Jessica turned to me one last time. You will regret doubting me. I said nothing and walked away. The next 5 days were the longest week of my life. Monday and Tuesday passed in a blur. I could not concentrate at work. My boss noticed and asked if I was okay. I told him it was just personal stuff. I made mistakes during code reviews, my mind constantly elsewhere. Wednesday, Sarah returned from Portland. I told her the entire story. She was incredibly supportive, telling me I had done the right thing by asking for a test. She said that whatever the result, we would figure it out together. We hugged and I felt lucky to have her by my side. Thursday, Jessica sent me a text. "Have you heard anything?" I replied. "Not yet," they said, 5 to 7 days. She responded this, "Wait is torture. Noah keeps asking about you." I felt a pang of guilt but stayed firm in my decision. Friday, I spent hours researching parental rights online. I read about backdated child support and potential lawsuits. Some websites said I could be sued for years of unpaid support, potentially $50,000 or more. The thought made me anxious, but I prepared myself mentally for whatever came next. Saturday morning arrived. It was day 6. I was home drinking coffee, obsessively checking my email every few minutes. At 10:47 in the morning, an email appeared in my inbox. The subject line read, "DNA test results case number 87432. My hand shook as I clicked it open. A PDF file downloaded. I opened it and read the header, Paternity Test Report. Alleged Father Benny. Child Noah. My eyes scanned down the page until they landed on the key line highlighted in bold, probability of paternity, 0.0%. The alleged father is excluded as the biological father of the tested child. I read it 3 times to make sure I was not misunderstanding. A flood of emotions hit me all at once. Relief washed over me first. Overwhelming and powerful. I was not responsible for a child that was not mine. Then came anger, hot and sharp. Jessica had lied. She had tried to manipulate me, trap me into a life I did not owe her. And finally pity. Pity for Noah, an innocent kid caught in the middle of this terrible situation. I took a screenshot of the results and saved the PDF. I sat back in my chair and exhaled deeply. A moment of clarity settled over me. I was right to trust my gut. I called Jessica immediately. The phone rang 3 times before she picked up. Her voice was nervous. "Benny, did you get the results?" I kept my tone calm and steady. "Yes, I just opened them," she asked. "And what does it say?" I told her plainly. "It says, Noah is not my son. 0% probability. I am excluded as the biological father." Silence followed. It lasted 5 full seconds. Then Jessica's voice cracked. "That cannot be right. Labs make mistakes. We should retest." I responded firmly. "No, Jessica. The test is accurate. These labs do not make mistakes like this." She grew defensive. "Maybe they mixed up samples." "It happens." I cut her off. "Stop. Just stop. I know what you tried to do. Tell me the truth. Now." She began to break. I could hear her crying through the phone. Okay, fine. I was not completely sure. There was someone else. Around the same time we were breaking up. I thought maybe it was yours. I hoped it was yours. When he was born and I saw him, I convinced myself he looked like you. My anger flared, but I kept my voice controlled. "So you were not sure. But you came to my door, to my home, and demanded I take responsibility. You tried to guilt me, manipulate me, make me feel like I abandoned my child. Do you realize how messed up that is?" Jessica became desperate. "Benny, please. I am sorry. I was desperate. We have nothing. Can you not just help us anyway? For old time's sake, Noah needs someone. He needs stability." This was the moment. My moment to stand firm. "No, Jessica. What you did was wrong. Period. I feel for Noah. I really do. He is an innocent kid in a bad situation, but I am not his father, and I will not be manipulated into playing that role. You need to find his real father. Tell him the truth. Make him take responsibility. And you need to get help. social services, family support programs. There are resources out there. But I am not your solution. Not after what you tried to pull. Her tone shifted to anger. You are heartless. I thought you were a good person, I replied calmly. I am a good person. That is why I am not letting you take advantage of me. Goodbye, Jessica. I hung up. Immediately, my phone buzzed with frantic text messages. You will regret this. Noah deserves better. I hope you can live with yourself. I blocked her number. I sat down on my couch and felt a sense of power I had not felt in a long time. I had protected myself. I had set boundaries. I had refused to be manipulated. 2 weeks passed after the incident. I processed everything through therapy sessions. My therapist told me I had done exactly what I should have done, set boundaries, demanded proof, and protected myself. At first, I still felt anger and betrayal. But gradually, the anger faded. It was replaced by peace. One day during the second week, I received a text from an unknown number. The message read, Hi, Benny. This is Amy, Jessica's friend. She asked me to tell you that she found Noah's biological father. He is taking responsibility now. She also wanted to apologize. She was wrong. I did not reply, but I felt a sense of closure. I was glad Noah would have stability now that he would be taken care of by the person who was actually responsible for him. My relationship with Sarah deepened after everything. She had stood by me through the entire ordeal. She did not judge me, did not freak out, and remained supportive and understanding the whole time. It made me realize what a healthy partnership actually looked like. I reflected on my past relationship with Jessica. The breakup 7 years ago had been a blessing in disguise. We were not compatible. We had different life goals, different timelines, different priorities. If we had stayed together, we both would have been miserable. The separation allowed me to grow, to mature, to become the person I am today. Now, at 32 years old, I had a stable career, a healthy relationship, and peace in my life. I had no regrets about demanding the DNA test. I was proud of myself for handling the situation with integrity. I learned several important lessons from this experience. First, trust but verify. Trust is crucial in relationships, but when something life-changing is at stake, you need proof. It is not about doubting everyone. It is about protecting yourself from manipulation. Second, do not let guilt control you. Jessica tried to use guilt and nostalgia as weapons against me. Just because we had history did not mean I owed her blind faith. Third, boundaries are self-love. Saying no felt harsh in the moment. But boundaries are not cruelty, they are self-respect. Fourth, compassion does not mean being a doormat. I felt bad for Noah. I still do. But feeling sorry for someone does not mean you have to sacrifice yourself. And fifth, the right decision is not always the easy one. Demanding that DNA test was uncomfortable, awkward, and made me look untrusting. But it was the right thing to do. I sometimes wonder about Noah, where he is, if he is happy, if he has found the stability every kid deserves. I hope Jessica learned something from this. I hope she is getting the help she needs. But I know without a doubt I made the right choice. I protected myself without losing my humanity. Life has a funny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. Old ghosts show up at your door. Past mistakes come knocking. The key is not avoiding those moments, because you cannot. The key is how you respond. With clarity, with boundaries, with self-respect, and with the courage to stand firm, even when the pressure is on. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had to stand your ground against someone trying to manipulate you? Have you ever had to make a tough decision that felt wrong in the moment but turned out to be right? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear your stories. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories like this one. And share this video with anyone who needs to hear the message that setting boundaries is not selfish, it is necessary. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, and for being part of this community. I wish you strength, clarity, and the courage to always protect your peace. Until next time, Take care of yourselves.